Welcome to another episode of Roofs by Gary Whitlock. We're at a project today. As many people know, we do a lot to help people with waterproofing and outdoor projects, walls, things like that. We love to do decks, boat docks, decks over boat docks, which we've got one coming up very soon. Just finished a wonderful boat dock on Lake Austin, but we like to do exterior things. Our primary work, of course, is roofing, but we do take on projects. Now, this is a project that is a real mess. You cannot get any messier than this. This deck has always been a problem, leaking inside the walls. The problem is when you get leaking inside a wall, like we're showing you on the outside, then you start seeing wood separation here, breaking here. This is from the expansion and contraction, so the insulation behind here has probably been all wet. You see that it's messed up one of these very expensive types of trim here, and worse than that, this entire floor along the back of the house is really messed up. You may not be able to see this, but this is sticking up nearly 3/8 of an inch. And the water has spread out into the floor and, of course, ruined the floor. It pops, it crackles, has to be replaced. So this kind of shortcut on the house, all the walls around here leak, all the walls behind this cabinet leak. You know, ideally, what you'd really want to do, and you know, it's going to be a lot of money to do it, but you got to take all the cabinets out, you got to fix the drywall behind it, fix the wall on the back side, and probably some studs on the bottom of this. We haven't even got there looking at it there. We're still dealing with it on the story above for all the siding, and that's what we're talking about. But the wall came out, the water came out for a long time. The owner thought the refrigerator was leaking and creating some problem, but as it turned out, it actually was from the wall that's on this kitchen leaking at the story up above. Now, as we tore it apart, we knew it was going to have to be redone. And we've got rain coming, so we're having to temporary some things, buy some time so we can bring in a crew and take out more than we were anticipating to do. And that's not uncommon with what we find anymore. If you look below, you see a real mess. And if you can see real well, and I don't know if you can because the sun is so bright that it may be just creating shadows there, but the way that this was done is there is no, but you can see this well, there is no wallpaper on the wall. There's a little bit on some of the corners. There's some on that corner, none on this corner. And if you look right here, you can see the wall. This is the second story up. The wall is rotting and leaking. This has all got to be fixed and repaired. This is a much bigger job than we had anticipated to start with once we got in and realized it was not done correctly at all. There was no proper flashing. There's nothing to keep the windows from leaking around there. That's going into the walls. So we just found it to be a much bigger mess than we had thought. And we're finding that there are just a lot of these out there. Got a call this morning. This is January the 5th, 2019. Got a call this morning from another person. It was a lady and her husband. They were on the phone together. They were very anxious about getting the roof repaired. It is a metal roof, and it is leaking at the walls and the flashings. This is one of the most common, this probably is the most common leak now. It used to be kind of tied between valleys, pipes, vents, and walls, but I'm finding that the walls are something that most people are just not learning how to do well. Carpentries, trades, general contractors, and for heaven's sakes, roofers. I'm guessing only 10% or less of the roofers are competent enough in our business to be able to address something like this and get it right. Now, we're going to turn this into a much different project than what we had anticipated, so now we've got to buy some time, get it where it's going to be water-free out of the wall. There's still going to be leaking down below this, down on the patio, but we want to at least get them dry on the inside. The problem you have when you have leaking that gets inside your walls, gets inside your house, like on this one, the leaking started coming in at the kitchen, then it started coming in at the family room. This is a house with hardwood floors. The expense on repairing and replacing those curled up hardwood floors, stopping the movement, stopping the squeaking, stopping the cracking, the moaning of the floors, are going to be thousands of dollars, probably in the neighborhood of $15,000, $18,000 they're telling me for the downstairs floor. So it kind of gives you an idea of how, why we take it so serious. No pans around the doors, no flashing around the wall properly. What flashing there is here is what we call pookie flashing. They put on some metal. They've got basically just cheap corrugated, and I mean cheap corrugated, the stuff you get at the big box stores, metal, and then it's got layers over layers, and then they use pookie, black tar, to seal it all together. And of course, that has failed. Of course it's going to fail. That failed a long time ago, which increases the amount of damage. It increases dramatically the amount of cost it takes to do it, because now it's not only the deck, it's the ceiling below, and all the rafters and joists have to come out simply because there's too much damage, and we've got to get a way to get the water off of the walls, protect the walls, number one. Siding all has to come off. Properly flash around the windows with window wrap. I'm not sure exactly what all is going to be needed once we get in there, but it has to be done correctly. There has to be a barrier, a moisture barrier behind the siding, even a nail hole. If you look behind me here, even a nail hole can leak. If you look high on this wall here, you can see my finger going across here. This is a leak that was leaking up high simply because there was a nail hole that had come loose. Caulk doesn't protect you long term. And then with this kind of siding, it expands, contracts, and moves around a little bit, so the hole gets wallowed out, water gets in, and you have another leak. You have to have some waterproofing behind that. I recommend good paper. There's nothing really has ever beat the true underlayment, which is felt. It used to have cotton in it, weave, but at least a real 30-pound felt, not a number 30, a 30-pound. You got to look that up to see what the difference is. But if you take that time, do all that, get your window wrap right, and put a proper flashing at the deck, have some place for the water to go, and then you have a proper roof membrane or something underneath. We're going to go back with a double lock standing seam on this one, make it a very permanent, and then we're going to probably be going with Ipe. That's been decided by the owner now. Ipe is a hardwood. It's a very dense wood, lasts 75, 80 years outdoors unstained. It's a wonderful product, so that's probably what they're going to be going back with. The rails are going to be a wrought iron and Ipe option on the top. That's what we're looking at. That way you can paint the rails a really nice color. They're talking about possibly a wonderful warm green, and then have a natural wood, easy to take care of handrail, and you can just use an oil, linseed oil or one of the oils that are protected for wood on that to keep it a very rich looking wood grain. And that's what's going on. It's all about getting a house to be protected. I always wanted to do something important. Some people say, well, what do you want to do? Be president, be a doctor, or what do you want to do? I said, no, I want to do one of the most important things in the world. What's the two most important things? It is a roof over your head and food on the table. I don't know how to cook, so I chose doing roofing, and that's what we do. This is Gary. Until next week.